Okay, I would have to quote the Dalai Lama, be kind whenever possible. It is always possible.
Hot off the press, it's a fresh season of Raise Radio, where I cover important topics like spirituality and personal growth, food and healing, holistic wisdom, shamanism and the old ways, staying grounded in our tech world, and upholding humanity and the arts. In my podcast, I give you actionable strategies, light bulbs, and thought bubble moments. Thank you so much for being here and turning on my Mind, Body, and Soul show.
Thank you for having me. It's very exciting. And I appreciate all of the back and forth to get the time change organized. So it was a process, and here we are. So my involvement with meditation. Oh, goodness. Do I just start like way back with the story time?
Yes, absolutely.
So my dad did a full monastic training in Tibet, in India, and in the Tibetan Buddhist monasteries in Dharamsala and the Dalhousie area. Everything but the vows, of course, because he ended up meeting my mom when he was not in India anymore. From his early 20s, he was completely, deeply committed to Buddhist practice. And of course, with that, when you go to the traditional monastic Tibetan Buddhist practice, Mahayana Buddhism, it's quite in depth. The practice is quite strong. So a lot of that got carried back, and then we grew up with that in our house. There was always then a shrine room with my quotations, which is a room in the house dedicated to all of the Buddhist education and tankas and figures that we would use for practice, and that we would, the things that you'd be studying.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Buddhist art, of course, all over the house, but there was one dedicated room for meditation practice and contemplation and space. So it's just normal. And it was there my whole life,
Mm-hmm.
from a child through teenager to that's just the way it's always been. My dad is now, he's going to be 82. He'll be 83 next month in a couple of weeks. Still has a shrine room in his house now, my mom. And I obviously have one here in the studio, and it's just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just part of life. So from a young age, we were just taught to, sit and listen and feel and think. And Tibetan Buddhism is very analytical and pragmatic. And there's certainly a religious aspect to it if you choose to follow that, but it's actually a practice.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a Christian and practice Buddhism, right? You could be anything and practice Buddhism because it's a practice. The religion is different. There's a segregation there that really allows the freedom for it to be accessible, because it's the science, the practice, and then the ritual of the religion. And so you don't have to have all to have the benefit, value, and that study.
So some of your really early memories in childhood were this is part of your life.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, little things like I remember the lesson of being taught like how to catch a mosquito in the house with a cup and a piece of paper to put it outside.
Yeah.
Right. Like the compassion of all living things is just like, it's a non-negotiable, it's just part of life.
Mm-hmm.
But meditation wise, yeah, I remember sitting with my dad, and while we were just sitting, and I felt this like wash of like a wave of energy just blow right through me. And we just kept sitting with it. And then that was, we were done. And I just stopped and I said what I felt. And he goes, yeah, I'm passing things to you. And there was always that just that awareness that an energetic exchange is completely normal.
Yeah.
And it's not like this big mystical magic thing, Yeah. It's just what you do, right?
Yeah.
You just tune in, and that's the way it goes. we've always had those types of practices, and that awareness of when there's a stress or there's some kind of chaos or situation, right? I mean, these things always happen in life. It was always you sit and you think about it. And the analytical practice of meditation, it's like you just, the Dalai Lama always says, like, just think, 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 think. And literally all you do is sit there and think about your situation. And you just, you just roll it around and you think about it from all these different sides and all these different viewpoints. And often the answers are all there. And more than that, the causes for the stress and the disruption of your calmness is usually always from you. And when you stop and start looking, that you can see it, and then you don't have to choose to sit with that anymore because you're doing it to yourself. Learning how to take time and why that's valuable and how easy it is to solve some of your problems when you do, I think is one of the key parts of my youth that has obviously stuck with me and carried things through.
I love it. So I can see how people would be like, oh, well, I wouldn't be as good at this as Wendy because she's been doing it so long. It kind of puts you in that good authority position that you can teach people how to do it, but you're also very much like, this is just a practice. Like there's nothing everyone has access to this.
Oh yeah,
It's
totally.
just choosing to.
The biggest thing I think that comes up is, oh, but I can't meditate. I can't stop my brain, right?
Yeah.
I'm too busy. Like there's just too much. I can't slow it down. I can't speak to different types of Buddhism. I'm really only familiar with where my knowledge base is, which is the Tibetan Buddhism. And in that particular context, the statement's quite clear of you don't want to stop your thoughts because if your thoughts are stopping, you're dead.
Yep.
Like
yeah.
you're gonna keep thinking.
Yeah.
And as you sit and just start observing, it actually gets busier. And being able to notice that you have a busy mind is the first step of like, okay, you've got some awareness. Like that's a good thing, right? For people that are like, oh, but things just keep coming and, my thoughts are hitting me and running away. And okay, that's fantastic. Like you're already halfway there, right? Like you've already graduated the kindergarten in grade 1.
Right,
Like,
because you're
great.
noticing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the more you sit, the more you notice. So the busier it gets. And the thing is, it was always that busy. You just didn't know. Knowing it is the start. It's always happening. Like your brain is constantly getting signals, right? Like my toe hurts, my back hurts, the sleeve is touching my arm, my hair is in my eye, I'm hungry, my nose is sniffy. Like you're constantly thinking.
Yeah.
Just because you don't cognitively put it into a sentence doesn't mean you're not having thoughts firing constantly. That's just having a brain.
Yeah.
The I'm too busy, I can't, I can't. Well, you already are. You just, you have to get comfortable with it. And then the separation and the learning to watch them instead of participating with them is the next step.
That's so true. I think that's the thing I could confidently say. I've probably heard 100 people say that to me, and I'm sure you've heard more. Is that like word for word, I can't get my mind to quiet down. And so you just like worded it so perfectly so that people can understand the fact that you know that about yourself. You're already practicing meditation just by knowing that because you've done some observing. So
Yeah.
that's amazing to be able to like step people into it that way.
To be honest, I would love to maybe have someone who has more like a broader historical knowledge of different areas of Buddhism. I think Zen is probably where it comes from, but I don't know that. So I'm just making that up. But that idea of you need to have just like nothing.
Right.
Right? Like nothing is like the nirvana. It's like it's the blank. And that's just not the practice that I know.
Yeah.
So and it's been explained so well, throughout my life. to just not get caught up in aspiring for nothing.
Yeah.
And just like aspiring to observe what's real right now, right? And real or not is sort of its own other tangent discussion, but just to observe and like to get to know your mind and learn from it and then start to direct it rather than trying to run from it and shut it down.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the beautiful benefits that doesn't necessarily get talked about enough. I mean, we know so much about the neurological benefits and the benefits for our nervous system for meditating, but also just the fact that you get to develop a deeper relationship with yourself. And that's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You have a powerful story. Do you want to talk about the monks in the studio?
Yeah. Well, yeah, powerful. I think maybe, yeah, funny. I think more funny and more entertaining, actually. So we partnered the studio at the time that my husband and I were running Get Bent Yoga. We partnered with the Penticton Art Gallery, and there was 11 monks and lamas from the Drepung Muslim monastery in India. And they had a sister location in Atlanta, Georgia, where monks would go and do training in Atlanta, and then they would tour the world. And when they got to a city, they would do meditations. They would do a sand mandala in the art gallery. They would do lots of lectures, and they would demonstrate their debates. It was just a big, a descending of Tibetan Buddhism into the community that they were stationed in for their week or two. So Get Bent, myself, was in charge of booking all of the lectures and the meditation classes or workshops that they were teaching. We had one in the studio, and there's Tibetan lamas and monks. It's all very dramatic, right? So people that have not had exposure. And they were all sitting in their robes, and there was, I don't know, like 30 or 40 people in the studio, all sitting, some people on their cushions. Everyone was just gathered, and it was a really like an energetic room full of anticipation and eagerness. Like it was a really hungry audience for information. One of the people in the back put their hand up and asked, and again, I'm not making fun of anyone. I'm really just sharing the story. Ask the question of, when you do your meditation, are you connecting to universal energies that are tied to all beings, to the bigger, greater universal energy? And the lamas just looked. And then they kind of leaned in, I nattered away in Tibetan, and translator said something, and they talked back and forth. And then the head lama just looked forward and he said, "No, we're just breathing." Like that was it.
That's it.
Serious answer. Like, we're just breathing. And like, I don't want to downplay, because like clearly that's not what's happening, right? There's a whole lot of, very like intricate visualizations, and like there's very powerful things happening. But realizing, I mean, as the lamas do, that they're very good at providing accessible education. Realizing, like, you know what, there's just so much that's been created surrounding this that it's going to get lost. So let's just bring it right back to just breathe, because that's more valuable than searching for these experiences, right? That's right. I mean, when you take Buddhism and you look at it, it's all about acceptance, right? If you're sad, mad, stressed, whatever, it's because the reality you have is not the reality you want. It's just attachment, right? That's always the cause. If you're ever upset, it's attachment because you're not getting what you want, right? Something didn't happen the way you wanted. And so we're constantly trying to alleviate and soften, minimize, and let go of attachment. So when you sit to meditate, if you have this big goal and you want to like connect into something greater, and like you're on the search for something, well, now you're just sitting and striving for attachment. Just because you're attaching to something positive, it's still attachment. Letting all of that go, like being attached to the idea that I need to be calm, being attached to the idea that I need to have this big transcending experience. like all of that sets you up to have trouble. And if you just sit, you breathe, and you watch, okay, well, what's going to go wrong there? All you're going to do is find stuff out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just now observing. The story of the monks sort of shutting down the bigger mystical, magical interpretations of what's happening is that stuck with me for sure.
It's an awesome story, and it is funny, like you said, but I also think it still is powerful. We're gonna keep it super simple, and that's all that needs
Exactly.
to be said, right? If they're in beginner level and they're trying so hard to achieve something, well, now you're not doing you're missing out. You're missing
You're
out on what's
striving.
actually happening. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great story. Why don't we talk
Yeah.
about how meditation is not this mystical, intimidating thing, how people can start putting in action. What does it actually look like in practice?
For me personally,
Mhm.
I I do analytical meditation, which is sitting and just like contemplating all of whatever is going on.
Mhm.
Actually, I have another good story about that. This is again when the monks were here. We were doing a talk at the high school, and one of them was asked. One of the kids asked, I'm so like I have so much anger sometimes, and I don't like what do you do when you just don't agree with someone and you're
Mm.
just so angry at them? The response was, okay, so imagine you're standing in one side of the room and there's someone else on the other side of the room and there's a huge circle in between you both. At your feet, in the middle of the circle, it's a gigantic six.
The number
And
6.
number six.
Yep.
And on the other side of the circle, the person standing there looking at it, it's a gigantic nine.
Mm.
You're going to stand where you are and you're going to say, that is a six. And they're going to stand where they are and say, that's a nine. And you're both right.
Mhm.
But you're looking at a six. They're not right. You're looking at a six, right? Like
Yeah.
you can see it. It's clear as day, obviously, right? Like, why would they tell you it's not the number six?
Mhm.
And they're over there doing the same thing. Like, they can see that it's a nine. Like, it's right there.
Yeah.
And so often when you have these challenges, unless you can walk all the way around the circle and stand on the other side, you don't you get clingy to you get attached to your vision, to what you
Mhm.
see. But there's always a different perspective. Everything is always easy to explain if you know the backstory, right? Like everything is explainable with the story. All behaviors and all sides of the argument make perfect sense when you have that perspective.
Yeah.
So analytical meditation is just sitting and thinking about all the different perspectives of the situation at hand that's causing you the disturbance. Because when you see it from so many different angles, and you have to get creative too. And it's hard to look at something and realize that where you were digging your heels in, right? Like, oh shoot, maybe I got that wrong.
Yeah.
We don't like to do that. But analytical meditation lets you really do that a lot. It's just great practice. So whenever there's anything that's not sitting well with me, I go to analytical meditation. And then most of my practice is Buddhist based religious practice. So
Okay.
Tara, meditation, Shambhala, so certain figures that I do lots of visualization with and gain a lot of education from and Tonka analysis to understand the stories and lessons and messages and the ways to continue moving through my day, how to hone my virtues and,
Mhm.
keep myself as a positive person contributing to society.
Mhm.
So, yeah, mostly it's analytical meditation when there's challenges, and then the Tara and the Shambhala and Shinrasi's practice, which is visualization
Mm.
and breath work. But for people that just want to like start, like where it's still new, the most beneficial, in my opinion, way would be You just sit and you get comfortable, or you lie down, unless you think you might fall asleep. Sometimes sitting is better just because it keep you awake. But it can be in a chair, right? It doesn't have to be in a lotus fancy position, like
Yeah.
whatever works. And you just breathe and you try to stay focused on your breath, because you're going to have all these things jump in, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I making for dinner? What happened at lunch yesterday? I forgot to
Yeah.
pack this. I have to do this. Like, that's going to happen. So you have to know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then when it happens, because you were expecting it, instead of getting all upset about it and like, oh, well, I can't do meditation, I'm terrible at this, you just go, okay, that's part of it. And then you start thinking about your breath again.
Mm-hmm.
The breath is a good base because you can feel it, right? The air through the nose, down the throat. You can feel your chest and your belly move. You can feel your clothing shift when you inhale and exhale. You can hear it, even though it's only for you. There's still a sound you can attach to. And if you're more visual, you can visualize it. You can imagine seeing just the air, or, smoke or color, or, like whatever you connect to, you can visualize it coming into your nose and into your body, and then coming out and going into the room. So you've got the three senses of feel, sound, and see. So when you get a thought hit you and it comes at you, you just acknowledge that was a thought. And then you just go back to your breath. You return to the breath. And then another thought comes and you just return to the breath. And it's like you just keep starting over.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, you just keep starting over. And once that's not that you're going to be good at that, but once you're comfortable with it, then you can shift from trying so much to focus on breath, because there's still an attachment to the breath, right? You're trying to keep attached to that breath.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that skill of being able to acknowledge a thought but then let it go has started to develop, then you start watching your thoughts. And
Mm-hmm.
here you can visualize like a river or a train, or maybe they just float by you. But usually, because in Western world we read horizontally, that horizontal in vision tends to lend well. But you just imagine you're just sitting, and then there's a thought about what you're supposed to make for dinner, and you just watch it float down the river. And then the next one shows up, and oh, I got to pick so and so up at this time. Great. I'm just going to let that float down the river. Oh, there. Great. Yeah, my foot's itchy. Okay, that's another thought. I'll leave that one alone. Okay. Oh, there's the dog. I hear the dog walking around the kitchen. Like, you just leave it.
Yeah.
Because what happens is the dog's walking in the kitchen, and then you start inventing thoughts to ride along with it.
Yeah.
I bet it's going to eat the food I left on the counter. I really need to clip his nails. We need to go in for our next medical. Like, boom, boom, boom. Now you've created this mess because of one thought, right? They're all seeds. The challenge of that second sort of level would be, can you just watch them go and not create more around them? Because that's the first step to letting go, right?
Yep.
Can you have a stressful situation at work, and can you let it go without just creating more around it? Like, can you have an argument with your partner? Could you just let it go? Or do you need to keep creating more on top of it? And this is where meditation starts to, infiltrate your life, because the practice of A, I'm not attached, and B, I can just observe and let it go. Well, how much of our daily stress would be alleviated if we could just go through life that way? So much. And I remember my dad telling me, I don't remember the situation. I just know I was upset. And he was like, well, just go sit and like just watch your anger. Just sit and just look at it. And so I just did. And I looked at it. And that's a weird thing to think about, because like, how do you look at feeling? But when you just sit there and you just, it's going to be different for everybody, but you just look at it. And it was, it was a fantastic experience. And I came out of the room, I was talking to him, and he's like, you cannot be something that you are looking at.
Yes. Wow.
You can't be it if you're watching it. Because if you're watching it, it's over there. And you're over here. And so the minute you start watching these situations, they don't define you.
Yeah.
The emotions don't define you. You don't get wrapped up in all of this.
Yeah.
Because you're just watching that thing over there. I'm in my little bubble over here. I don't have any of that going on.
Just to remove it a little bit, so it's not, you don't feel like you're swimming in it, but now you have more control. Seeing that from a distance. Yeah.
And it becomes really fun to watch the things that annoy you float down the river. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to let that one go right over there. And imagine a nice waterfall and it's going to go right off the edge. Just let it go. Off it goes. You wait for the next one.
I mean, one of the most beautiful parts of getting older for sure is your priorities shift. But for people who need a little help with that observation piece, this can help drive that faster. Is to more quickly understand, oh, I really let that take a lot of my power for like 3 days, and it could have been 3 minutes,
Yeah.
Because we don't have that much time. We don't have that. We're not here forever. So
and aren't we always changing too? I mean, you're saying getting older, and yes, I agree with that. One step farther is we're just always changing.
Yeah.
Like who is the same person that they were 10 years ago?
Oh God, unrecognizable. Wendy, you said something to me a month ago. I don't even know if you remember it. It was probably a throwaway comment that you just said to me, but I was talking to you about something, and I don't know if I used the word failure or if that was just how you were wording it to me, but you said something along the lines of you can't fail in this. It's just yourself in process.
Right. Yeah. And fail as an acronym. Yeah. First attempt.
I wrote it down. I wrote it down. I'm like, Wendy, thank you. That's so powerful.
Oh yeah. First attempt in learning. Yeah. So if you don't fail, you're not learning.
Right.
And, I mean, we all want to keep learning. So, start making mistakes.
Everything that you have is...
I'm the perfect example of constant mistakes.
Well, hey, that's entrepreneurship too, right? One of the things that I started doing, and I still need to do once in a while now, is if I find that I'm trying to meditate and my mind is busier than normal, I'll just give myself 3 minutes to... It's almost like a practice meditation. Like I'll sit as if I'm meditating, but then when if the to-do lists start coming or something happens and I'm like, oh, I actually absolutely forgot about that thing, then I just have my journal nearby and I'll write it down. Like it's a little mind dump, right? And it's almost like once I get through that first layer of the busyness, then I can access more calm.
Yes. Yeah, your brain, your mind, if it doesn't trust that you're going to remember something, it's not going to let it go.
That's it. And it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning.
You.
Yep.
So that's a great idea. Just a little bit, jot that down, done. And then it's like you could release it down the river.
Yeah.
And now you got to go for later, right? Because I think that's a big part of, we're going to get into a bigger tangent here of like society right now, is that there's just so much we hold on to.
Yeah.
Like it's so busy, right? Like, and so because of that, our brains are just like bursting with all of this information that we need to keep. And, like I don't want to lose our brain power, but I really believe in outsourcing some of that, right? Like, yes, there's something to be said about we used to remember everybody's name and phone number. Who does that now? Nobody does that now. It's all stored, right? Like remembering your calendar. Like who knows what they're doing in 2 days if they don't look at their calendar, right?
Yeah.
But there's an element of we have got ourselves trained to outsource our memory bank.
Yeah.
And if that's the way it's going, that's the way it's going. But it's important to have those resources available so that you can keep that up in the moment, just like what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a practice that people can have to help them get away from screens and come into themselves and learn more about the inner workings of themselves. How, like, I know that a lot of people also want to set a time on it. So how do you kind of decide, like, am I doing 3 minutes today? Am I doing half an hour? Like, do you just base that on your calendar, or is that more organic for you?
I think if you have to space 2 or 3 minutes on your calendar, you've got other things that you need to reflect on
Right.
personally. And I say that, and it sounds a little judgy, but I was there, right? Like
Yep.
when I was running,
I've seen your
um,
Google Calendar back then. Yeah.
the, no joke, I would go down the hall into the washroom and I would put my earbuds in and I would do like a minute and a half guided meditation while I was going to the bathroom.
Yep.
Like I was trying so hard to just like keep some kind of calm because I could not find a chunk of time to sit by myself without something happening,
Yeah.
which isn't a testament of my life. It was a testament of my boundaries at the time that did not exist. Right. Like that's how you run your stuff. And I ran that way for years. And it was not necessary. Right. But we are where we are. Nobody is who they were 10 years ago. But finding a couple of minutes here and there is, we all have time for what's important to us.
Yep.
If it's important that you sit and you have breakfast with your kids, you do it. If it's not, you don't. And that's not hurtful for anyone who does or doesn't. That's just an example.
Yeah.
Like we all have time for what's important to us. So if the time spent thinking on your own practice is important to you, you'll find time. You can lie in bed and do it while you fall asleep. You could wake up and you could go and do it and not look at your phone. There's there's always time. And this is where the accountability comes in. And so I feel like there isn't really anything else to say about that because if you want to, you will, because it's 2 minutes and it's not hard to do.
Yep.
It is not hard to sit in a chair and breathe. It's mentally challenging because you have to face yourself. And, a lot of people are living lives that they're not happy with. They're living choices they're not happy with. They've done things they're not happy with. They're shameful, they're resentful, they're who knows what. And they are not going to sit in that because that's hard. So the analytical meditation I find is so valuable because especially now in our current state, it's, just with society running the way it is, it forces empathy, compassion, consideration, patience, forgiveness of yourself, of others, understanding. Like it just forces you to have all of those perspectives. And right now, in the age of social media and all the hanging around that we do on our phones and the quick snippet text that we get that, we invent the tone that the person is saying when we read something. I believe that there is the opportunity for that thoughtful and empathetic compassion and that consideration and well-rounded perspective. I think there's an opportunity for that to be lost. And analytical meditation, it just forces you to keep those skills because they are skills. And with those skills come better communication and wiser perspectives and choices. The expectation that other people also meet you there. And so there's such a big benefit to that type of practice. And yeah, it's 2 minutes. Well, but when you've got some deeper things that you have to work through, those are a messy 2 minutes.
Right. Yes, uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking about the 6 and the 9, like that's such a beautiful teaching to me because and I know you and I have talked about this on a personal level, but like when you have issues or falling outs with people and you can kind of look back on it and be like, that was just a miscommunication. And so I think that's a really, really incredible life skill to be able to have for yourself and can come back and talk about it. and see it from other perspectives, then we could actually make some really beautiful headway rather than just keep butting heads, butting heads, butting heads.
Yeah. You know, part of what happens is the ability when you watch your thoughts down the river and you just practice letting them go. Part of it is just letting it go. Why
Mhm.
can't you think two different? Why can't you think differently? Why can't I dig my heels in and believe this, while you dig your heels in and believe that? Why can't we both just think differently? What's the problem there? I think there's a whole other element of like really a myopic view of one way is the way and anything else is too
Mhm.
upsetting. And we all have to have the same perspective. And like, where's the richness there?
That's right. I love that the analogies you're using, like floating it down the river, or I know the one that I used to use for the analogy of a cloud, like your thought's just a cloud, and so let it float away. And I think it's so sweet that humans love those nature visualizations because we're so tuned in with nature, and we can have such a beautiful relationship with it, can teach us how to be. And you have a beautiful life right now on property, and you have a really strong relationship with nature.
Oh goodness. Um, yes. Well, the woods are so important. Nature is like a key grounding component for me and just for my mental health and stability.
Yeah.
And just feeling, that rooted feeling like I'm part of something so much bigger.
Mhm.
Like I need to be in nature, I need to be in the woods, and that's so important. So we have an animal sanctuary on the property here, just a small one, just for retired and rehomed farm
Mhm.
ducks, and then we have some rabbits that are in the house. We have lots of trails, and we have a big pond, and so there's lots of natural life out here in the pond, and obviously through the woods. And so my husband John's done an amazing job over the last several years carving out trails. There's lots of loops. If I really hustle, I can do all of them in about 25 minutes. I take my time. I usually just do a couple of different loops. I won't do all of them. To walk back through all of the trees and the river is there, and especially like now when we're talking, it's February, so it's winter and there's snow on the ground, and to go out in the mornings and after it's snowed and see what life has happened while I was inside.
Mm.
Like there's rabbit tracks, like all the little mouse and the rat tracks of them jumping and getting into their little holes under the bushes, and the deer, and then there's bobcat, and just being connected to that is so meaningful. In the summer we work with the Annapolis Valley River Project, CARP. They help with preservation of the plants around the pond, support the pollinators and the songbirds. And so we have a pollinator path where it's all planted with specific pollinators that will plants that will attract the pollinators. And in the summer, there's like, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of bees on all of the flowers. Like like it doesn't matter where you look. You just look and there's like you could probably count 50 bees in one tiny little spot on one plant. It's just buzzing and humming as you walk through the path. Like it's electric. Being that real and being part of all the other life that's happening is really grounding because I feel like that's real. It's, I don't know, again, it's just my own judgments, but it's not a crowded city street of people going everywhere to go to work. It's the bumblebees doing their job, and then the butterflies, and then like there's ants, and like, I don't know. I get so much fuel from being outside and just watching the animals and how that magic of our life works. So there's a lot of that outside. And sometimes, I mean, I don't sit and do meditation every day. Often I just go walk to the woods and I do it.
Yes.
Just
Mhm.
think, breathe. Like all I'm doing is just being present.
Yeah.
More often than not, I walk through the woods and I'm crying because I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to have my turn on this land. Like
Mm.
it's just so incredible to live here. but that's the outside. And then often, like I said, I'll sit and I'll do practice in here. As far as the yoga, there's a few locations around here within 10 minutes that I teach at. And so there's yoga 5 days a week in the community around here. And so it's a lovely group. There's about 25 people in total, and we usually have anywhere from 8 to 15 in each class.
Yeah.
And it's a really lovely practice. It's great. I really enjoy bringing the analytical aspects to yoga and encouraging people to develop that skill through yoga practice. It's just one step more tangible than breathing. Because if you're standing on one leg and you've got your arm out to the side or up, or you're trying to balance, you're trying to keep your kneecap pulled up, and you're trying to keep your shoulders down, pull your stomach tight and lift your chest, and like you're thinking about all those things, you can't get distracted. You can't make your grocery list. You can't remember the argument you had with someone else. You can't plan what's going on later because you're just trying not to fall over. And so it's true though, using your body to create the environment for you to practice meditation techniques, like that's a huge component of the yoga that I teach. And so it's teaching that single point focus and letting the thoughts and the distractions just leave, right? You're lying in a twist and you're thinking about, knees together and reach the other arm out and keep breathing. And, and then you start thinking about something else. There's another reminder of like, try to, push your hip up and reach your arm out, and you go back to thinking about your body. And it's that constant retraining your focus. It's exactly if you sit and you watch your thought and then you just start thinking about your breath again. And then you get distracted and you start thinking about your breath. It's just one step easier when you have a muscle that's like quivering and tired and sore, because now that is all you want to think about. You get that practice. So a lot of the meditation practice comes from the physical practice. What else did you ask? Oh, with the
Josh, because you do so much. You have the gymnastics club, the seniors yoga online,
the dance school, seniors online as well. Yeah, in-person yoga, online yoga, the gymnastics club, and then Sparkle Dance Academy. Yeah, the dance is really fun because it's the same thing. Like, I do so much, but it's all just the same stuff.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's all the body tuning in. It's all being a better version of yourself and being more thoughtful and, treating yourself and others with compassion and being mindful about how you move. And that can be move, through your day emotionally, but also move through your day physically. To do it with, loud pumping music and really excited kids is the same thing, right? You just put a different wrapper on it for the people that you're spending your time with.
It's helping people to tune in so they can be more observant of how they're moving through the world.
Totally.
That's amazing. Thanks, Wendy. Wendy and I have had a really long relationship since 2012, the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey. And Wendy and I have gone from being employer-employee relationship to a mentorship and colleague relationship to a long-standing friendship. Wendy is an incredible award-winning dancer and choreographer. She has won multiple awards. The Juno Awards Committee hired her to do choreography. She runs Sparkle Dance. She is head coach of the Digby Gymnastics Club in Nova Scotia. And Wendy also teaches yoga classes on her website, seniorsyogaonline.com. Whether she's teaching dance, coaching gymnastics, or teaching yoga, Wendy's mission is the same: to help people feel strong, confident, and connected. Now, I'm a member of seniorsyogaonline.com, and I would love to invite you to do the same, because you can get the lifetime video membership for only $26 a month, but you can also get weekly classes if you join the $68 a month membership. Wendy has an incredible amount of anatomy and meditation knowledge. highly, highly recommend being a part of her community. The growth that you will receive in your body and mind through her yoga classes are unmatched.